All right, guys, in this video, I'm going to show you how to beat a price objection literally every single time. And I'm going to take multiple calls and show you the same framework I use over and over again that's been responsible for well over $70 million in sales. Hope you guys enjoy.
I wish I was you guys, honestly. I wish I was you guys about to listen to this freaking call. Oh my gosh. I wish I knew what it felt like to hear this call that you guys are about to hear. I've been on a roll lately, so I'm just super pumped to bring you guys this call. Okay, so I'm going to drop this in the room. These calls are literally the most fire calls of my life. You guys are going to love what you're going to hear today. I don't want to spend a bunch of time doing the pre-frame, like all that type of stuff, because I feel like I do that. I've done that enough. Let me get this in the groups. Okay, so I made a little change to the sheet. The sales sheet for my internal sales team. I'll share it with you guys. I don't care. I think I share it like every call anyways. So let me show you guys what I got. So this is my internal sales sheet. I think I made the changes on both. So I'll drop this in the thread. So this is for business owners. Okay. Don't knock yourselves out. The other one is for like the sales rep type offer, right? And again, for context, I basically am back in with the sales guys. Like I'm auditing, I'm doing a bunch of calls. So I have a call for you. I'm just going to do the closing. Oh, here it is right here. And before we go into it, I'm going to break down for you how I've been doing my new price objection. So let's walk through the price objection to start, and then I'll break down for you guys how I do this. And it is literally so freaking fire. Like, it's just so good. Like, I get excited just talking about it. So when you're on the call, let's say the price points, we'll just say it's so like, hey, so the price is just, and the person's like, yeah, that's too much. And I go, I totally understand. Is there anything besides the price? Or does everything sound good? It's just the price. It's just the price, Tanner. Got it. So if I'm able to figure out a way for you to come in outside the price, or if we're able to figure the price out, you're in, yeah? Yeah. Okay, cool. So what's your cash on hand look like? I've got whatever. So here's what I used to do. I go, got it. So you got, and then I start trying to come up with a solution. Also, keep in mind, guys, like this is the reason you're like, well, Tanner, why did you change it? Because when I do stuff that doesn't work, I go, how can I do something different to get a different result? Okay. So check this out. What I do is I go, got it. So I'm open to work something out for you financially. I just want to make sure if I do that, you move forward today, because the price usually is. So I'm happy to customize a solution, but I want to make sure that if we do that, you can move forward. And then what ends up happening is they're like, okay, yeah. And then I go from there and I close it. And you guys will hear this on the call. Why is that important? Because recently, especially with my sales team, they'll get the cash on hand, and then they'll come up with a solution. And then the person goes, yeah, but like, I still would want to think about it. And it's like, we just gave them a really good price, and then they still want to think about it, which I don't like, because that's not a fair deal to me, right? A fair deal is, okay, if I'm going to lower the price for you and it's usually this much, then you need to meet me halfway by making some level of commitment, okay? So I want you guys to listen to this call. It's just so beautiful. Like I got 3 or 4 calls that have gone the same way, and they all end up giving me money, or they don't sign up right there on the call, which is the goal. That's what we want. We want decisions. We're not trying to do follow-ups. We're not trying to, let them go talk to 800 people. It's like, we want decisions as much as possible. Okay. It doesn't always mean you'll get a decision, but that's the goal. Okay. So questions before I start. All right. Hold on to your seats. Here we go.
It's more patient versus you're like, hey, I'll take anything, right? So that's the way I go about that.
I'll take anything.
Yeah.
I'll slow it down slightly so you guys can hear it better. But like 200, let me do like 170.
So you can be faster. So hopefully that answered that question. I kind of answered that fully.
Yes, it did, actually. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, that's all I really have. Unless you have any more questions, but the last thing I really have is just logistics.
I'm looking at my notes here of everything that I wrote down. I'm going to need to refer back to it later. I think I have questions. You probably answered everything. I asked a lot of questions while you were talking. I'm sorry to interrupt you a few times, but I hate to like forget my question, because sometimes I get the question while you're talking, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to forget that question right away. I know that. So I need to actually remember it. Yeah, I have to say something about myself. I have a business degree myself, management and human resources. And the environmental company I work for, I did a little bit of marketing too. And I love talking. Like, talking is just my thing. I'm very social, and I'm a very people person, and I just love, having conversations with different type of people. So that's why I feel like this industry in general is just like, it's for me. It's for someone like me. And I'm not saying that because I like to brag about myself, but I feel like it fits my personality. That's what I wanted to say.
No, perfect. Yeah, and you know, if you don't like talking to people, it's another expression. So
Exactly.
yeah, I'm glad you like to talk, and yeah, if you are a good talker and you're a good communicator, it makes it sometimes easier to teach you this because a lot of it.
Sorry, guys. Is that too fast? All right, here we go. Trust me, this will be worth the price of admission. You're going to love this. Okay, I'm going to show you guys like 3 calls today where I did this. Just crushed.
So 30 times 5 is 150,000. 10% of that, which is what your commission would be, is 15 grand. Okay, so that's above what you said you
Do a little slower. 50. Okay.
wanted to make.
Okay.
Now, if you're part-time, let's take the call down to 50. Again, part-time is really 80 hours, but I like to, again, I'm very conservative. Okay, I just like being conservative.
Mhm.
Customers are happier, people are happier, you know, everyone's like standing for the truth, like it's just better for everybody. So, but I only want to be part-time. Like, well, then Amazon FBA. So when you come in, we usually will.
I'm looking at my notes here of everything that I wrote down. Patients with different type of people. So,
So,
yeah.
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 Cool. So any other questions though? That was a great question. Do you have any other types of questions before I get into like any types of logistics?
I do not. Go ahead.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So last thing I see like pricing, the duration of the program, et cetera. So again, like I said, it's a 6-month program, 1-to-1. It should take you 6 months, but again, we have that just to, you know, keep it safe for the least of these, right? You have the guaranteed interviews, you have the lifetime placement opportunities, and then it's just an investment. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And how do you expect to get this money? Like, in one portion or how does that work?
Yes, ma'am. Great question. So typically we like to get it all up front. But if that is the only concern for you, and you like everything else about the program, it's usually pretty easy to help out. I always tell people that you need to be certain this is what you want to do, and then usually everything else is very easy to work out or fix or meet in the middle. But what I'd really be looking for is that you're certain this is what you'd like to do, and if the only concern you have is price, then we can, you know, delve into that. But I would want to make sure you're certain like this is sounds good, like what you've been looking for, sounds a lot better than what you.
Okay, so I'm getting the tie downs, right? It's just price, and I'm getting the double tie downs. Okay, that's all I'm doing. Nothing different there. Okay, just keep listening.
Heard stuff like that.
Well, yes, it sounds more real than anything else that I've ever heard that has to do with, you know, online business and, you know, making money online and, you know, all of that type of stuff. But the portion of the money is just not what I expected, I guess. It's just a lot. So I want to know, like, if I wanted to sign up and I'm certain that I want to do this, what's another way to pay this money?
I love it. Yeah. So just so I'm hearing you correctly, because I don't want to put words in your mouth, everything sounds good besides the price. And then if we were able to figure out the price, you feel comfortable moving forward. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay, so that's all that is. Just the price. That's all it is. Yes. Okay. So if we figure the price out, you're in. Okay. So now I'm at number 7, number 8. Okay. Number 8's new. Number 9's new too. Okay. So just listen.
Great. Okay. So what I can do from here is I can definitely try to work something out for you financially, especially since like I'm the owner. So if I can throw a little extra couple strings on my violin that I can pull.
By the way, if you're not the owner and you're a sales rep, just be like, yeah, I'm Tanner's favorite sales rep. I can pull a couple strings. A lot of sales guys, it's just, you just making them feel special. You're making them feel like they're getting a deal. You're making them feel like you're doing something you don't usually do for anyone else. And in most cases, you typically are actually, but that's what they have to feel. Okay.
My team can't.
Okay.
But if I do that, then I just want to make sure if I go through that effort to find something that fits your budget, you know, and it's reasonable, then again, you feel comfortable that you can make something happen today if I kind of meet you in the middle on that, correct?
Okay. So that's what I just did here. So I do this backwards. The only reason I didn't do that first, I don't have like a good reason. Like I review my own sales calls too. Like sometimes I'm like, why did I do that? But I guess I already knew cash was an issue. So instead of asking like what her cash was, I was just like, cool. So if I work something out for you financially, I'm happy to do that. But I just wanted to make sure if I do that you can move forward today. So that if I ask for her cash on hand, and she tells me a number and then I'm like, cool, can you do that? And she's like, well, I still need to think about it. It's like, no. This is also why you guys don't have to do fast action discounts. That's why fast action discounts are stupid, because it makes you sound desperate because you go, well, look, it's typically, but if you pay today, it's $1,000. You don't have to do that, because if they genuinely don't have the cash, you just say this. And then guess what the fast action discount is? It's the deal you come up with on the spot. And if they're like, well, I don't want to do that, you're like, okay, that's cool. There's no pressure, but then you need to pay the full amount. Okay. For anyone who's new to the calls, if you're like, well, wait, why would I lower the price? That's your call. It's your business. But I think every person on this call who's a business owner or a sales rep should have leeway on where they can move the price. Because otherwise, if you don't, those are very hard to overcome. Like if someone doesn't have, they don't have, and no matter how many times you go through a closure circle, they're not going to have. Okay. Questions so far? Anybody lost? All right, here we go. Check it.
I don't know about today, only because my husband is not here and I got to discuss this whole thing with him before I make a decision. But if it's just up to me and it's my decision, I'm definitely down to do it and I really want to do it. So the rest of it would be just, tell my husband know about the whole program because he's
okay. So you see how I asked it and she literally brought up that objection? That's what's happening to a lot of you guys. I've been listening to calls. A lot of you guys are getting that after you figure out cash on hand and you give them an option. This is how you're going to handle it.
Involved with me, and helping me out with the boys. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I could make a decision by tomorrow.
Yeah, so what I'll tell you is that, and I totally understand talking to your husband, like, that totally makes sense. That's the first time I've heard that. Just in terms of you talking to your husband, though, like, is it more of kind of letting him know what you're doing, or is it more like getting permission, whether it's help financially, et cetera, so you could do it?
Both. Letting him know and getting his help financially.
Okay, so if I'm hearing you correctly, if he were to say no, then that would be a no-go, correct?
Okay, pause. So we go down to our script. Well, what do you do if they say no? She said, well, I need permission for both. Well, that to me, it's really a price objection, right? That's why she says she needs to talk to her husband. She doesn't actually need to talk to her husband, probably. It's just too much. Okay, so watch how I handle it. So now we're in the spouse objection, right?
Hard to say. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm really interested in this program. I really am interested. Like, this is something I've been, talking about. I really wanted to look into it. I really want to do it. So, but the portion of the money is just a lot. Like, let me just tell you, I went to school, I have a bachelor's degree, and I don't even have half of this as my student loan. So, yeah, I mean, I'm just being realistic, right? Like, I'm just letting you know the truth. I don't even have, I mean, I was a really good student in school, and I always had, like, different types of incentives. And just, I don't have that type of portion for my even, loan.
Sure.
Nothing happens.
Yeah, that's cool. So if I'm hearing you right, the biggest objection that probably your husband would have is probably the same one you would, is like the price, correct?
Yes, that's for sure.
So
And just to say that, I'm not trying to put your program down. I really am
No,
interested
you're
in
not.
this.
No,
I'm
no,
just
you're
saying
good.
it's a lot of money for someone who's just like starting, I
Yes, ma'am.
had a kids and stuff to like worry about. So it's a
Yes,
lot of
ma'am.
money for me.
No, you're good. You're not the first person to say that, so it's totally okay. But here's what I would recommend based on what you said. I definitely would want you to talk to your husband, because I don't want to be the reason, he's sleeping on the couch or vice versa. But what I can do, what I would propose is this, I'm open to try to work something out with you financially that makes more sense for your budget. What I would ask of you, though, is if we can come to an agreement.
Here it is again. Okay, so I talked to her and it's like, it's just the price. What if he says no? Well, this and that, it's a lot of money, da, 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 da. So I come right back to here and I go, cool. So if I can work something out for you, I'm trying to get her to say yes before I do the plan. Because once you give the plan, you lose all leverage. As long as I haven't said it, I hold the leverage, right? Because she's like, well, what is it? Like, what is it? She wants to say yes. Okay. Sales is about asking the question that gets them to say the answer you want. It's not about telling them. It's about asking. And then when they say the answer you want, they sell themselves. Okay. Here we go.
Something that fits. Then what I would ask you to do today is you put down a refundable deposit, which will be just 10% of what we can agree on. And then you can go talk to your husband, and then you guys talk about it. And if, you come back and he's like, hey, I don't want you to do this. I don't want you to be a closer. I don't want you to make more money. Whatever you might say. Then what I do is I can just send that amount back. And again, there's no pressure to do that. But then what I can do is, if you're comfortable with that scenario, then what we can do is try to figure something out right now financially that you can actually take to him, where he'll actually be more pro to do it. Because, like, more than likely, if you go to him and you think it's a lot, he's going to think it's a lot. And if you don't think it's a lot, you're probably not going to do it. And so I don't know if you're open to something like that. But again, like, what I'm proposing is, we have a talk. We'll figure out kind of what financially would work for you, something that's like agreeable on both sides, and I can try to pull some strings. All I would ask if I do that is that you put down something refundable, so then you can go talk to your husband, and then we can meet back up in 24, 48 hours. And then if you move forward, that deposit goes towards the program. If it doesn't, then I just send it back to you. But then that way we can discuss the price, which seems like that's kind of a hiccup on this deal. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, that could work, but do I have to put a refundable deposit to discuss what you could potentially make it like happen for me? If I just like sign up, what would make the difference?
Well,
Whether if
yeah.
I have a deposit or not.
Okay. Right. So she's like, but like, do I have to do a deposit? Like, why? And I'm like, cause I'm giving you a deal of the lifetime. Watch. And again, cause like, guys, you're not forcing people to do stuff. Nothing. Listen to my tonality. All my calls, they love me. These ladies love me. No one thinks I'm pushy, but I'm pushing. I'm not pushy, right? So watch. I get decisions every call. Every call. That's what closers do. You get decisions. Okay. So watch what I say to her.
For sure, no, and like, you definitely don't have to. So I definitely don't want you to feel pressured into anything.
Okay, pull back. Yeah, you definitely don't have to do anything.
All I'll say is that typically the program is, so typically if someone can't do it, I'm like, yeah, come back at any time, right? Unless we like up the price or something like that. But I guess like the reason for me, like, if I'm going to go to the trouble to figure out a financial solution for you that I don't usually offer, then I would want at least a small commitment that you could do something refundable, so that I know you're going to come back and talk to me, right? So it's like, whether you say yes, you say no, I'm not chasing you around, and I'm not going to the effort and trouble to figure something out for you. It's like, like, you're not willing to do that, that's okay. But then I'm just like, hey, yeah, like, go talk to him if you can do that. Great, you can't do it. But I just think based on like what you're saying, I don't think that's probably a feasible option. So to me, like, I'm happy to go to the trouble of trying to figure out something I don't usually do. But then to me, like, a fair deal is just both parties meet in the middle. So you don't have to do a ton of money today. I'm not saying it has to, like, if I don't need to be a large amount, it would just be 10% of what we could agree to. So then that way we're kind of meeting in the middle. But again, there's like zero pressure. Like, if you don't feel comfortable to do that, we definitely don't need to do it.
What could
You see how like I just kind of back off? but I have her right where I want her. Cause I'm like, yeah, you can't do, you really want to do it. So that's fine. But like, to me, it's fair. If I'm going to do a customized deal for you, then you got to do something, but you definitely don't, there's no pressure, right? Like, dude, it's such a good spot to have the call. Okay. Cause she really wants to do it, right? She's certain. Her certainty is very high, right? After you get certainty as high as possible. All right. We're going to listen to a couple of calls. You guys will see differences.
What could you make it happen? What could you reduce the amount to?
Well, yeah, like what I'd like to ask you, if you want to go to that discussion, is like what cash do you have on hand that's available, right? So checking, savings, credit cards, whatever, like not stuff in the stock market or like buried under a fence. Like what do you have available that you actually could use to invest today? So I can try to come up with a customized solution.
Probably what I have as of right now, like to invest into this is.
Okay. And when you say, okay, just so I'm clear, was that kind of your mindset for total, or was that in your mindset per month?
In total or it's a month? Like as a total.
Okay. So now I asked for cash on hand. Okay. So I switched it, but now I got to get cash on hand, right? I just knew she was broke or broker. I shouldn't say broke. I don't mean like derogatory, but it's like she just doesn't have money, right? So I already knew that. So I kind of jumped ahead. I don't really have a better excuse than that. It would have worked either way though. Like you want to get this and then you get this. And then you're also going to see like me say this too. Hey, I don't think you should spend everything, but I also don't think you should spend nothing. Okay, here we go. If you guys got questions, jump in anytime. Feel free. Here we go.
For the program or in total for the?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. So like when you say, like, were you thinking? Yeah, I was thinking like maybe it'd be per month, right? Like that you spend on the program, or you're like, hey, I thought it'd be total.
I thought it would be close to like total, honestly.
Okay, so here's what I would suggest. And again, like I appreciate.
Hello.
Hey.
I'm so sorry.
She hung up. I thought she hung up on me, but she said it dropped. That's why it's like, so I called her back. Okay.
We just got disconnected.
You're good. I honestly, I didn't know if we got disconnected.
No, it's so sad that I just hung up on you. Like, oh my God, okay, I don't want your program anymore. No, that wasn't.
No, it's okay. So here's what here's kind of like where I would try to meet you in the middle. So the program typically is like, that's the real price. I don't want you to think I'm making that up like that. That's what we charge. Now, in your situation, you got 2 kids, you're at home. You got to talk to your husband. There's kind of a lot of barriers for you to get in, but here's realistically how I would see it. It's a little lower than I'd like to go, but I'm in the business of trying to help people, right? Like I always make an analogy to my sales team that a billionaire who spends $10 million doesn't spend as much as, a widow who has $10 and spends $1, right? Like it's comparable to the person in their situation. I don't feel like you said anything on the call that was not truthful. I don't feel like you were bending the truth. I feel like you're telling me where you're at. So what I would tell you is this is kind of how I would feel it would be fair. If we came to an agreement to do 2, because that's so much less, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I would ask you to do is, if you could do it a positive, kind of like,
because again, like I don't care if someone needs to talk to their husband or wife. That's not the issue. That's like if that's literally what they need to do, that's not a problem. Like it's pretty typical. The problem is it's usually right. So it's like, yeah, you could talk to them, put down a deposit, and then we'll talk again. Okay.
We discussed earlier, refundable, like fully refundable. You go talk to your husband, and then we have like we meet up in 24 or 48 hours. I'm happy to have a call with him as well. Like, do you want to have a 3-way call, or you want to talk to him by yourself? Like, so whatever you're comfortable with. And then if you like it and you guys want to do it, you come back. We can use it towards the total. If you don't like it, I can refund you. And again, I do not want you to feel any pressure whatsoever. Hopefully, you can kind of hear my voice and my personality. Like, I'm just here to help. But that would kind of make me feel like we're meeting in the middle, and then I could try to help you with some type of discount. Otherwise, like, no, there's no pressure, but it's a very significant discount, right? So I would want to see some type of good faith on your part. And then if not, like no harm, no foul, like we can part ways. And like,
you guys hear my tonality too? Like I don't sound desperate, right? I don't sound like if I don't make this deal, I'm not going to eat for a week. So some of you, I know that's the case, but you can't sound that way. You got to act like your lights are going to stay on. You're good. You're rich. You don't need it. If they feel like you need it, you sound desperate. Good luck, man. It's really tough.
I'm so happy to help you in the future or something like that. But I feel like that would kind of be the fair thing I could do, because I'm all about trying to like help and make fair deals. I just want to feel like it's fair on both sides and it's not a one-sided deal.
So you would be willing to do the program for me?
Well, yeah, and there's 3 conditions, right? I mean, they're not crazy conditions, but first condition is you can do something today, right? You just put down a small amount.
Okay, and again, this is not a good deal. Like, this is not a great deal for me, okay? But when I'm training my sales teams, they're telling me the leads suck and all this garbage, I'm like, dude, you can get money on every call. It doesn't matter. You just got to do it the right way, okay? So is this a deal that I want to take long-term? No. Like, we actually just changed some of our applications. We're making them more aggressive. But again, I'm showing you guys, like, you can always get cash if you want it. Always. You can always get a deal. You can always get a sale, right?
Your spot, I'm talking 24, 48 hours. Number two is you work hard, right? So if you come in and you're a psycho client, for example, like I'll just refund you. Like I'm just going to kick you out, right? Like I don't want to do that. And then number three is you don't go around creating the price, because there are people who pay that amount, but the only way you're getting in is if it's cheaper. Like that's just fact. Like you're not going to get in if it's, so to me, it's like if there's a way we can get you in, and that's what you have, and that is what will make you feel comfortable, and like you're not anxious and freaking out. Like again, like it's either you get in at a cheaper price that I help you with, or you don't. And so I'm down to help you as long as I feel like you're going to meet me halfway. Then that's what I'm here to do. My job is literally to help you. Like I'm not here to like take your money or like make you go homeless. I'm here to help. So yeah, I would do that for you. It would just be under those three conditions. And
so I have a question for you. And
Sure.
don't mind me saying this, because I'm gonna have to ask you. What makes you give the program for this price for someone like me?
I mean, just brutally honest, like there's a couple reasons. First is I'm the CEO, so I can do whatever I want. So part of what I listen for on calls is like I'm trying to see, like, do you sound truthful? I've had people on calls who, you know, they're like, I got.
Yes. She asked a question. She said she's open to doing it for. So you think there's room to push more on financials? Because we don't actually know her cash on hand. The thing is, for me, like it's so far. Like there's two things. One, it's so far from what I want already that like. Let's say I could push it farther. How much farther do you think I could really push it? Like, it probably not much further, right? It's definitely not going to be double. So maybe I could have gone a little more, but it's so far away from what I want. Plus, just being transparent. This is like my 8th call in a row, and I'm just like, I can't tell you. I just don't give it. Like, that's just the honest truth. Like, I just don't care. So that's probably why. But yeah, could have I pushed it a little more? Yeah. I could ask a couple more questions. But yeah, that's a good point. I mean, great feedback. So yeah, I could have done better on that for sure. But I guess my thought is like, hey, I've taken 8 calls today. The quality's not great. I want to sell this. Everyone's giving me really low price objections. So my thought process at this point, when I go back to my team, is we got to fix the marketing, right? Because like they're coming in this low, there's something wrong with the marketing. There's something wrong with the vetting process. We got issues. Okay, here we go.
I'm not going to do it. I'm like, okay, bye. Like I'm not going to do it. Like they have the money.
Oh,
So
I wish I was dumb. I would not have been so hesitant to just say it and go like move on with my day. I learned.
No, you're good. Yeah. So number one is like I'm the CEO. I've done this a long time. I can kind of listen for cues, and I can kind of tell who's being truthful, who's not. And then number two is like you're trying to help yourself, right? So like I don't know how much you know about my story, but my story was for the first week.
Yes. In a situation where a closer is working for a company, does the company dictate how much of a discount? Yes. But that's also what makes a good CEO. Like some people, they don't know how to run a company, and it makes it harder on the closers. Like you guys also have to think, well, Tanner, this isn't a good deal. Guess what? Closers don't care. Closers want to get paid. Everybody cares about themselves, guys. So you always have to think, how can I help my team win? That's how you'll win, right? So also think of it this way. Like when I'm not in fulfillment, does it really matter if I get a client in for less money? Am I the one doing the fulfillment? No. Does my coach know any different? No. Does it make my overhead go up? Not really. So why wouldn't I do that? Right? There's a bunch of great, that's like a great question. It's like the only reason you wouldn't do it is if it becomes problem clients, right? They come in, they pay less, they're doing issues, or they have issues, etc. Now, it's not something you want to advertise either. So you guys get a really cool inside look of something that like I really shouldn't advertise much, because what's the issue is if a client's like, well, yo, I paid more than this person. That's a reasonable argument, right? And some people might get upset. But just being transparent, like this is the best way to run your company. If you want to stick around for 6 years like I have, and you don't want to go under and you want to make money for the rest of your life, like there's just do's and don'ts. And like, this is a very much a do, in my opinion. Like, if you're just very like, this is the price and I'm not going to go, like, you're going to lose a lot of money. You're going to lose a lot of money. You're going to have a lot of cash. You're going to hemorrhage. You're going to have a lot of set employees, et cetera, et cetera. There's no reason you shouldn't have like a baseline of like, this is the lowest I'll go. Okay.
In my business, I made $2,000. The last 6 years, I made $70 million. And I don't say that to brag. I just say that the difference was when I found people who actually wanted to help me, and then I took the plunge, right? And so I don't need more money. Like I don't need more money. So if you pay me, or you pay me, it doesn't change my life either way, is what I'm trying to say. So if that's genuinely what you have, and that's genuinely what you can do, and that's a lot for you, then that's all that I need for you to be successful. Because part of success is like it has to hurt, but it doesn't have to make you homeless, right? Like I don't need you to take out a third mortgage to work with us. But it's just
Hear that? I don't think you should spend all of it. but I do think you should spend something. People really like that, right? A lot of reps will go, well, what's your cash on hand? Great, let's spend all of it. They're like, you're an a-hole, right? So people, it's like, okay, is that all you have to live on? Is that all you have for groceries? Yeah. All right, well, dude, I don't think you should spend all of it, but I do think you should do something. So what if we did this? Okay. Like, guys, like, could you get someone to spend everything they have? Yeah, but it's a lot harder, right? You ever heard the saying, broke people are harder to sell because you're taking more of their net worth? That's the real thing. That's why rich people pay so fast, because they're like, yeah, I don't care. It's not a big deal for me. Okay. Here we go.
A little bit. It should be a little uncomfortable. It should make you a little anxious. You should be a little scared because that means you care. But that's really why. I mean, there's no, you're not going to get help if not. And what I found is that if I don't help you, it doesn't mean you're not going to get help. You're going to go look for it somewhere else. And I just personally believe in what I'm doing here. Like, we're a 4.9 out of 5 for a reason. We're really good at what we do. And that's why we get a lot of great reviews. And so, like, I just know we can help you more than the other guy. So if that's the only way we can help you, then my option is either I tell you no and hang up, or I'm like, I come to some agreement that works for you. So
you're gonna make me get emotional and cry, because I really want to do this. Like, you have no idea how much I want to do this.
Yeah.
I want to so badly do something to help my family, my husband, my kids, just build up a future for them. And I feel like I have that in me. So what I'm missing on is a good opportunity. And I think this is my opportunity. And
100%. And I get where you're coming from. That's what I mean. It's like, you're at home with 2 kids. You're literally trying to help your family and your husband. I think it's very admirable. That's what you have to give. It's like, I have no problem with that as long as I feel like it's a fair trade. So if you're comfortable enough to do something refundable, again, fully refundable, like, I'm not going to hold your feet to the fire, go talk to your husband, talk him through it. Even if you want to get on a 3-way call, I can walk him through some of the stuff I did with you. And then you guys make your decision. And then if you're like, hey, Tanner, I just can't do it, it's too much, I'll just send the money back to you, no problem. And like, you won't sign anything until we discuss it. Like, I'm not going to send you some agreement or like get you to sign anything. It's just, you put that down, and then no harm, no foul. If you don't want to do it, I'll send it back. And I just view it as like, that's your only shot. Like, if you can't do that or won't do that, then, I'm like, hey, that's the best I can do. Like, that's where I feel like that's as far as I can kind of put my hand out. If that makes sense.
okay, so this
You see that? And she's still hesitant. I'm like, well, look, that's the best I can do. If you can't do that, like, I understand, but that's literally the best I can do. Because if she has to go talk to her husband and stuff, she's not coming back. She doesn't have. So she can ask her husband all he wants. It's not going to pop out of his butt. Okay? It's not. This isn't Jack and the Giant Beanstalk. Like, it's not going to happen.
is basically the best that you can do.
Yeah, I mean, unless you have something better, I don't think I could do better than that. That's about as far as I think I could do. My staff or something. I think that's like the best I think I could come up with. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll give you a $200 deposit.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. So what I'll do, let me pull this up, and then do you want me to schedule a time where I talk to you and your husband, or is it better if it's in private? What helps you?
I'm good.
All right, boom, close. Then I schedule a call. I think I have a call with her tomorrow or something. Yeah. Questions on that before I get another call? I don't think any. Yeah, go ahead. So
What's up, man?
What up?
I guess just to clarify, so you ultimately did drop it down to because of her situation, and she still told you that she had to think about it.
Yeah, because for her, so like that's not a problem though. That her thinking about it's not a problem. She just has to do something on the call. Like for her to
okay, yeah.
for her it's a lot of money, right? And
No, yeah.
It's very typical for women to also want to talk to their husbands or spouse. That doesn't bother me. That doesn't bother me. It's just a lot of times it's like if they're going to their spouse or their husband to be like, hey, can I spend? The answer is 100% unequivocally no every single time. Okay. Like 100%.
No, but yeah, no, I mean, it's like you told her time after time after time, and
I know,
we're reassuring that.
I know, but
it was just nice. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know, but that's the thing is like, even after you do your best on sales calls, some people still are not going to do it. So for her,
Yeah,
I went through that like 3 times. And I finally was like, that's where I put my line in the sand, right? I was like, hey, look, you can do whatever you want, but you got to do this.
Yeah.
Right.
And then ultimately, like what you said right now is like you did it 3 times. And then once after the 3rd time, then like that's when you really that's where I personally see it. Like, yeah, you did it 3 times and they really do have to go talk to her husband. Thanks, man.
Okay. Yeah. Anyone else? Sorry, if you guys are talking, I can't see you. I'm trying to download and yeah, who's up? What's up? That stash is absolutely legendary.
Thank you. It might stay after the Halloween as well. So No, thanks for that. I might have missed a little bit from earlier in the call. I had to hop on a little late. So like, are you kind of judging character a little bit as well, like through your discovery phase, like to make a discount like that?
Yeah. I mean, dude, like, I just want to genuinely know. I want to genuinely know, like, that's all they can do. Right. So here's the deal, guys. You're like, well, Tanner, what if the guy has a ton of money? Then no, I'm not going to do it. Like, I've had people get on the call like, yeah, like, I can definitely afford it, but like, no. It's like, great, bye. That's not a person I want to help. I've had people get on the call and they're like, dude, I don't have the money. I will literally go get a $1 loan. I'm like, bro, you are literally a psycho in all the best ways. Okay. Like, that's crazy, right? So yeah, that's 100% accurate. And dude, think about it. Who do you think I actually would rather help? The guy who will literally go sell his home and live in a car, or the guy who's like, oh yeah, like it's not the perfect situation for me, so like it's a pass. You know, does that make sense?
Yeah, that does. Thank you very much.
Like, the funny thing about sales is the more you guys just continue to think like, how can I genuinely help this person with also making it fair? Like, yeah, there comes a point where it's not fair. Like, hey Tanner, can you help me for free? It's like, no, I can't, I'm sorry. But it's like, hey Tanner, like, can your coaches coach me for less? I'm like, yeah, like that's not that bad of a deal because I don't have to do anything. Right? Like that's not crazy. That's not like out of ordinary. Now, a lot of you guys, when you don't have a staff, you guys have to be careful, right? Like, I don't want you guys just like, oh, well, Tanner does this. It's like, yeah, but Tanner has a team. So if you're by yourself, you have to be a little bit more careful because you're the one doing the fulfillment. But yeah, you're listening for cues. And you want to help people who want to help themselves, guys. Like, I'm telling you, it's not a big deal. It's just you need people who want to help themselves. Okay. Let me get this call pulled up. Let me see if we got any more questions before I go into it. Anyone else before we go to the next call? All right. Continue your amazement. Here we go.
Get placed, what you're looking at now, 30 days, and then once you get placed, fully you have tied up. Okay.
I mean, I definitely don't want to say something too low where it's not going to work. I would like a down payment, not unless you could.
All right, you're sweet. You won't hurt my feelings. So just so I'm clear, you've got tied up. So we'll look at
Put that money up front directly.
That's okay. That's okay. And again, like you're amazing. I just die for people just assuming. So like where's your head kind of right at this second? And I'll kind of walk you through like the next steps and what we can do, etc.
Okay. Everything sounds good to me. It's just the price to start. I mean,
Okay.
is that
What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to help as many people as I can get in. And so the price of the program is typically, but I also have flexibility if the because of one of the few companies I have. So the program is 6 months.
Here we go. Here's the price drop. Ready?
It's 1-to-1. I don't anticipate, or actually say, I don't like people to take 6 months. We just basically say, what is the least skilled person? How long will it take? We believe that it should not. We believe it should not take any longer than 6 months. Okay, if you take longer than 6 months, it means either you're not trying, or you might have you might not be cut out for sale. We'll say that. It should not take 6 months. Okay. Like I said before, you have lifetime access to the portal, the Facebook group, lifetime opportunities. Once you pay us, you don't have to keep paying us to do that. Okay, that's why people work with us and they like us, because we're one of the few companies that promise that. And then you also have the guaranteed interviews. Okay. So it's a 6-month program for all those things included, and then the investment is just $9,800.
By the way, if you guys are like, Tanner, can you do different calls? I'm happy to. I just share with you guys like my freshest calls. I was doing business owners for like a month. I was doing tons of those, and I'm doing this. And then if you guys want, like, I can go back and forth. I also know like you guys submit calls. We'll get back to that as well. I haven't had like the coaches update it recently, but yeah, we'll get back to that too.
start? Okay. Okay. So when you say like ranging from, how do you break that?
Okay, so that's on our application. Our application was saying you have to spend. All right, we're changed it now. Now we say, are you able to spend at least $50 in the next 6 months with % down? Because we're getting too many people on the phone, so like they don't have enough cash, and it's causing a cash collected issue, and my sales guys can't make enough money. Okay, so that's where marketing comes into play. If you keep getting the same type of people and it's not working, then you gotta kind of squeeze down the faucet, right? You got to make it a little harder for them to get on calls. So we're just tightening it, right? Less people get through, more people get disqualified, etc. Okay.
Yeah. So great question. And you're one of my best calls I've had today. So I really appreciate the time and effort you put in before the call, because I can tell you did. So full transparency, as a founder of the company, my goal and like what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to help as many people as I can get in. And so the price of the program is quickly, but I also have flexibility.
Also, like, I literally think 90% of my objections lately have been price. So if you guys are going to practice one objection, like, this is the one, and it's literally the easiest to beat. That's why it's so fun. Okay. Like, all my calls are like, I love you. It's just too much. That's all you got to do.
If the finances is the only way you're not able to get in. So for example, like, I've done a lot of calls. I've had people who make, millions of dollars a year and they won't invest anything. And then I meet someone who makes, $2,000 a month and they want to give me everything, right? The willingness is very different. So, in terms of where you're at, what I like to do, first, does everything besides the price, like price aside, let's put that to the side. Does everything else sound good about the program? Does it sound what's up your alley, what you were kind of hoping it would sound like, or is there any issues in terms of the deliverables?
No, everything sounds good.
Okay, great. So if I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, my something, I always tell my team not to assume, so that probably going to be what I do, but I'm assuming as long as we can get that number figured out, where you're not going to homeless and live under a 10 or something, we're good to get you in today. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I'd like to think over everything go over everything again that you said. But yeah, I am interested.
Sure. Yeah, and just like when you say like go over everything I've said, like do you mean like any like the particulars about the program, or what specifically do you mean?
I don't, just me personally, like, think it over before giving you a decision.
Sure, absolutely. Okay, so I guess like let me ask you this, like what are you kind of thinking from here, so I can kind of best direct the call. So you said everything kind of sound good. I'm assuming I can't actually, let me just ask you instead of assuming. So like where's your head kind of right at this second, and I'll kind of walk you through like next steps to what we can do, etc.
Okay, everything sounds good to me. It's just the price to start. I mean,
Okay.
Is that
Okay. So what I did is I dropped the price, and then she was kind of like, she didn't really say anything. She's like, yeah, I still want to think about it and this type of stuff. So she's not like giving me a lot to go with because she didn't really say anything. I'm like, cool. Like, I mean, you tell me what you'd want to have happen then. Right. That's why I asked that question. And then she went back to price. Okay. If you guys have questions about that, let me know. But I basically said the price. She's like, hey, it's kind of expensive. And I was like, yeah, no, totally get it. If we're able to figure out the price, would that work? And she's like, well, I still kind of want to think about it. I'm like, okay, so like, then what do you want to have happen? Because I just said if I worked on the price, you still want to think about it. So like, what the F? And she's like, well, it was really just the price thing. She goes back to the price, and then I try to focus on it again. Okay. Because again, like if I say I'm going to work on the price and they still say they need to think about it, then I'm not going to work on the price. That's it. Like, bye. You know what I mean? Like, why am I trying to fix a price when you still have to think about it? That literally defeats the purpose of me spending my time on the call. Okay. And if you guys look, I spend more time in the objections with this lady than the first part of the call. We're at 15 minutes. We're listening to this at 1.5 speed. Look how long this call goes. It's insane.
One payment.
So, I mean, it's like full transparency. Obviously, in a perfect world, I'd love to get it all up front. But if you can't do that, you want to be the first person to say that. Is that kind of your situation?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's the only thing that's going to prevent me. I can't put that up front right away.
Okay. So, again, being brutally honest with you, my job is just to help you. And I think you've been very truthful on the call, so I super appreciate that. Sounds like you've done your homework. So what I'd like to ask you now is, if I'm able to figure something out financially for you that makes sense with your budget and all those types of things, would you feel comfortable to move forward today if I can figure that out for you? Because obviously there's no pressure. I don't want you to sign up if you're not ready. But if I could figure something out financially that makes sense for you, would you feel comfortable to move forward today?
Yeah, I just don't feel comfortable putting that up front right now.
Okay. So this is this part here. So if I get work something out for you financially, you feel comfortable to move forward today. Okay. Like I'm getting those tie downs. Notice that I get it before, not after. It's too late after. Got to get before.
Just because, I picked up more responsibilities recently, so I don't want to, be completely broke.
Oh, no.
Or like,
you know what? I'm the same way. Like, I don't think you should put everything you own down.
Oh my gosh. It's like I say the same thing. Look, I don't think you should spend all of it, but you should do something. Guys, every call is literally the same. It's always the same.
Because I don't think that's the best thing. I also don't think you should put nothing down if this is what you want to do. It's usually in the middle, right? And everybody wants a fair deal, including me, right? So let me ask you this. What's your cash on hand situation look like currently, so I can try to see what I can figure out for you? So, checking, savings, whatever you have. What do you kind of have available that you could invest in? Keep in mind, I'm not saying you have to invest all of it. That's not why I'm asking. It's like,
so notice that I've changed the order on some of the calls. I don't really have a good reason why that's happened. That I just have, but it still gets the job done, right? Like I'm using these 3 things. And before I give them a deal, I make sure that they say that they'll move forward. Okay.
Understand your situation fully, so I can give you the best recommendation.
And this, anyways, you'll say, go ahead.
Okay. I would say around the price of the program, just because I've had, personal health bills recently that I had to pay off. So.
Okay. Fair sorry to hear that, by the way.
It was a tough, no, it's okay. It was, I mean, it was a tough year, so that's why I'm a bit low on cash. So that's why I can't
Oh, okay.
put that money up front directly.
That's okay. That's okay. And again, like you're amazing. I just die for people who just tell me the truth. So I appreciate that. So let me ask you this: what's ideal for you? So I know you got about what you just kind of said, you got about the price of the program. Obviously, I don't think you should put all that down. I don't think that's what's best for you. But I also want to get you in today. So what would an ideal situation look like for you? And then I can kind of see what I can do from there.
I mean, I'd be more comfortable with like a payment plan where I know exactly how much I'm paying until the program is paid off.
Sure. For sure. What would that look like? And I agree with you. I think a payment plan makes sense for you. I 100% agree. When you say that though, like what's the number you're kind of thinking? And the only reason I ask is I don't just want to throw out random numbers for you. Right? I actually want to know, like, if I know where your head's at, then it's a lot easier for me to go, hey, that works or that doesn't work, right? Versus I just throw out a bunch of random numbers.
Okay. Why do I do that? You maximize cash. That's why. Because if the price is, I want as much as she can pay, right? But that sounds a lot better than like, hey, by the way, what's the maximum amount of money you could pay today? Like, could you pay all of it? Like, that's not a great way to ask. It's like, what do you have available? Right? Okay. Here we go. Continue.
Okay. So that I have, those are also tied up in investments. So I have to technically pull those out just to have that cash on hand. I should have actually
Got it.
been clear on that. But that's like
No,
the
it's okay.
total of what I have in checking. So
We're not asking how much they have in Antarctica under their rock or at their mom's house. How much do they have right now? Because the only thing we care about is what they can pay right now, not what they can pay later. Because we don't care about later, because we're trying to get money right now. Okay? Urgency. So she has cash on hand. Does not exist. It is not real. I don't even pretend she has it.
and I have other bills that I pay. So I mean, I don't want to say a low number where it's not going to get me into the program, but I want a number comfortable enough where I feel like I can invest in it just to get me started
Sure.
and hopefully get placed
Sure.
quickly.
No, you're good. And you won't hurt my feelings. Trust me. Like you're sweet. You won't hurt my feelings. So just so I'm clear, you've got tied up. So let's just push that away because that's not available today. So let's just pretend that doesn't exist. You got available right now, and then that's everything, right? So there's no other buried treasure. Okay. So okay. And then if I remember correctly, you were saying on the call that you were coming in kind of with the understanding that it would be about, did you say you thought it would be 5 months? Is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, that was the example that was given to me, but I didn't know if it would be, which I was kind of saying because again, it would make sense, so it didn't make sense to go 6 months up.
Yeah, I'll definitely bring that up to the team. I can fully understand your confusion. That makes total sense.
Yeah, I didn't want to be annoying, but I just wasn't understanding the payment.
You seem like a very sweet person. I think you're almost over the top, like where you're trying to be so nice you don't even want to say what you think because you think it's rude. You're not. You're totally fine. So then that's perfect. So out of what you have right now, minus your bills, your expenses, you got to pay for food and all that stuff. What out of that you kind of have that you could use towards the payment today?
Like a down payment, not a monthly payment, correct?
Yeah, like, well, either or. Yeah, like we don't like just what could you do today, and then like what would be comfortable for you on a monthly basis? Because like what you make on a monthly basis isn't going to change until we get you placed, right? You kind of know the job you have now. So I'm trying to gather what would be a comfortable amount maybe you put down today, and then if you're like, yeah, like I can do this today, and this would be kind of a comfortable monthly payment. Because realistically, to get you in, it has to make sense on both fronts. Like we have to have a decent down payment that you're comfortable with, and we also have to have a monthly payment that you can do. So I'm like, oh, the monthly payment, that's not going to work for you, right? We have to do something like reasonable. And since you're the one who knows your finances better than anyone, that's why I usually just ask you, because you can tell me what will be comfortable, and then from there, I'll be like, hey, that works. Or I'll say, hey, you know what, that doesn't work. This is what would work, and then we wrap up. So we don't. I just don't want you to feel like I'm just throwing crazy numbers out because I think that's a huge waste of your time.
Okay. I mean, I definitely don't want to say something too low where it's not going to work. I would rather know what's the number that's going to work for you.
Well, okay, yeah, okay, that's fair. So what I would say is this, like, I guess before I say a number, out of the you have, how much of that is usually tied up in your monthly bills? So you got like rent, food and stuff. How much of that is free that you could utilize typically?
Free, I would say bills.
Okay.
A month.
You got about, I mean, you got to pay for food and some other things, right? So probably about tied up.
Maybe or a little less.
Okay, cool. So here's what I would.
Okay, so she's really got like out of she can really spend like now, right? So remember what I said, like if you guys go for everything, you're like, oh, all right, let's do. She's gonna feel like, yo, dude, that's like, whoa, that's a lot. That's a big ask. So what I try to do is I'm like, okay, let me gauge and kind of make like a deal here. Let me see like what she could do. Okay, that's what you're gonna see me do.
Recommend we do. And then, if this doesn't work, let me know. But, the big thing I'm looking for is like, as long as you like the program and you want to move forward with it, then what I will do is I'm going to try to come up with a plan that makes sense. You can move forward today. Because like the big thing I hate is I don't want to put you in a position where you're not able to start today because that just makes it longer for you to get to your result, right? Like it doesn't make sense to me to push you out 2 months. You can put down a little bit more, but not get help. I just think that's a waste. I think that's stupid personally. That's just my take. But what I would say is this is, tied up. Okay. So
No, sorry, that's in total. So I would have like
you got about left after the checking, correct?
around that or less. Yeah, I'd have to check how the investments are doing.
Okay, that's fine. But here's what I would do based on that. Let me just do some quick math in my head. Yeah, I think that would.
And
That
it's
would
a
work.
bit difficult because I don't have a salary and paycheck. My money's tied up in commissions as well. And so if the market is slow right now, then I just have to wait for that commission.
For sure. Yeah, I totally understand. But here's what I would recommend. And then what I'll say before I tell you what I'm thinking is like, really, I just have 3 asks, right? And they're not gonna be any crazy asks. So what I'll do is I think I'm gonna try to present you a payment solution that makes sense. All I would ask is like, you do something today, right? So like you can make some type.
You guys see how many times I say that? Like, it's unreal. Like, that's like probably the 4th time I said that. Like, I just keep saying it over and over and over so that she will do it. Cause I'm like, yo, I'm gonna help you, okay? But I need you to move forward today. Hey, and that's cool. Like, I'm definitely down to help you, but I just need you to move forward today. And I like eventually like they break because it's like, yo, this dude's really trying to help me. I'm getting a micro commitment. Okay.
Micro commitment today. It doesn't have to be a crazy amount, but I'll tell you what that amount is. Obviously you come and you just work hard, right? Like, I don't mind helping people as long as it's like a fair deal where it's like, hey, you work hard, I'll help you out. I just don't want to feel where it's like I help you out and you turn into the Grinch or something. That's what we don't want. And then the third thing is obviously like whatever deal we come up with, you just keep that between me and you. Because I don't want to, it's not a good look if someone's like, well, why did you pay less? It's not. It's like my job is to try to help, and like because it's my company, the benefit is I can do what I want. So I'm happy to do that. It's just don't go advertise it, right? Like it's like, oh, Tanner did this for me, because then someone else, if they didn't get the same deal because they're in a different situation, it's hard for me to go, well, you're not in the same situation. They're like, yeah, but it just creates kind of a shit,
Yeah.
right?
No, I understand.
Okay. Cool. So here's what I'm thinking. If you can do something.
Also notice like everything I say is true. Like, I don't want a problem client because I give them a better deal. I don't want them to go tell everyone because that does create issues. It's like, that's like not great at all. And then I get her to move forward today. So it's all fair. Like everything I say, that's why I don't mind sharing the calls with you guys, because it's just like, you just tell the truth. It doesn't matter. It's like, it really doesn't.
Okay. What I would recommend is you do this. You do it started. That would be your biggest payment, right? And then what we do is we just do a month for 5 months. So it'd be 6-month payment plan. You pay total, okay? And then it'd be a month, which I think would be doable based on your salary. Now, if you hear that and you're like, hey, that doesn't work, fully open to hear what does, but I think that would be meeting in the middle. I don't think charging total makes sense because it's going to extend past the program. I think that would stress you out. All I'm trying to do is like, I want to help you, but I also want to make it fair. And so based on like what you told me, my experience, all the calls I've taken, I think if you could do it today and then agree to a month, that seems the fairest to me. But I'm also open to your feedback if you had a different number. But that to me kind of seems like we meet in the middle, and we can get the deal done today. What do you think?
Okay. And you also see how like it actually sounds customized, and because it actually is customized. It's like crazy how like if you just do what I tell you to do, like it actually will sound that way. Like it is customized. So I'm like, hey, and like that's what I think is fair. I think that's a good deal, but you tell me. But again, the deal's only good for today. Remember, so she doesn't move on it. It's like, that's it. So you have all the elements of pressure that you want without being pushy. Like the pressure is there without me having to do anything.
Okay. Well, I guess my question would be, how fast have people been placed in the program? I mean, what's the fastest people are going through the program?
Great question. Well, for me to answer for you specifically, because that's really why you're asking, how much time can you put into this per day? Like realistically, like how much time? 2 to 4 hours, 2 hours, 4 hours, 8 hours? Go ahead.
More, definitely more, because real estate is very slow right now, so I don't have any income.
Okay.
Investing in this is like, I'm putting all my money in it. And
Got it.
so most years I don't want to put it and lose it, and there's no.
No. So what I would say for you is if you can move and you can do like, let's say you're doing 8 hours a day, I think you could get through it in a month max. And then in the next 30 days, we get you placed. That's me. I feel comfortable promising you, because we set, it's a 10-week program at 2 to 4 hours a day. So if you're doing double that, you're going to finish it twice as fast, which that to me makes sense, about 4 weeks. Plus, then it gives us 30 days to get you placed. So we're not pressured to get you placed the next day, but you'll have at least a month. And it's like, we can definitely get you placed within a month. No problem. So to me, that would be, you'd be out before you get placed, what you're looking at. So now 130 days. And then once you get placed, you'll start making commissions, and then that will be how you pay off the rest of the program, which would be about less.
Okay. And when people are done with the training and they're ready to get placed, usually how many interviews does it take for someone to get placed, or what's the time frame? I know you said you'll give a month, but usually people, when they're doing interviews, how fast do they get placed?
Yeah. Great question. I want to say it would be like maybe around 5 interviews, probably, because part of it is also going to be who you're picking. So it's like if you were interviewing to have a boyfriend, you probably want to pick the first one. You're going to want a couple. So I would say about 5 interviews. I think the nice thing about you is you seem very well spoken. You have some sales experience. So that's going to put you higher on the totem pole than someone who comes in and they have 0 sales experience, right? But I would say like probably about 5 interviews. But keep in mind, we can get you 5 interviews like back to back. It doesn't have to be like a week per interview. Part of what I would do. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying, okay.
Okay, so again, what am I doing? Building certainty, right? What's the most important thing to getting a close? Certainty. Certainty means that they believe it will work, that they want to do it. They're convinced this is for them. Without certainty, people will not buy. The next call I'm going to take you guys to, the guy was not certain, so he didn't buy. Okay, he wasn't ready to buy.
Like, I appreciate that.
So I think like the notes I would have for the team for you is like, she's coming in full time. She wants to be placed ASAP. So I would tell the team like the window I'd have is like, you need to be placed in 60 days. No ifs, ands, or buts. Right.
Okay.
So if you're going, if you're going through the program full time, there's no reason you can't get placed faster. We usually just say 6 months because some people come in, they can only do 2 hours a day. They don't do it for a couple of weeks. Like we have to have a little bit of room so that we don't have a perfect student, that we can still help them. I think based on what you said, if you're going to come in and do full time, that makes sense. Because like 10 weeks is for 2 to 4 hours a day. You're going to double that. I don't see why you can't get done in 4 weeks, especially if you do weekends, it might be faster. So 60 days to me, like conservative. Could you get placed faster? Yes, but I think 60 days is conservative. The other nice thing is when we get women closers, a lot of our women business owners, well, who do they want? Women. So that gives you an edge over the guys because there's not quite as many women as men. So that also will give you a little bit of an advantage there. But yeah, I feel very comfortable telling you 60 days because, if you can go full time, there's like 30 days to train, 30 days max to get placed. Like we can get you placed in 4 weeks. Like there's no reason you can't get a job in 4 weeks. That's a long time.
Okay. I mean, my next question is, have you had anyone go through the program and not get placed? Or were they just not hard work? Okay.
No, I mean, because the only way they don't get placed is if they're not taking the interviews. Think about it. It's like, this is what I was making the joke before. The worst looking guy on earth. If he goes up to 100 girls, one of the girls is going to be blind and say yes, right? I mean, it's just a number game. I mean, a little.
Okay. Also use analogies. Analogies are great, right? Hey, the ugliest guy on earth can get a girlfriend. Okay.
Facetious, I'm joking a little bit, but I'm also serious. Like, it's a number game for interviews. So for you, the only way you want to get interviewed, placed, is like you stop taking interviews, right? So the worst thing that could happen is you take the first few interviews, they don't like you don't like them, you come back to us, you're like, I really don't like these people, we get you more interviews. But that's the only bad thing that can happen. Realistically, I just don't see that really extending past 30 days though. That's why I said 30 days. So like, let's say we're giving interview after interview after interview after interview after interview. You also have to keep in mind, I have a business consulting company that has about 40,000 active clients. That's part of why we started this company, is guess what they need? Sales reps. A lot of sales reps, exactly. Yeah, sales reps close the same thing, right? Remote closers, sales reps. So we didn't just build this business because we built it because there was a massive need for our clients, right?
Okay.
So
you built that business for your company and then expanded to other businesses?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. So for context, I have a company called Elite CEOs. So you can go to eliteCEOs.com. You have 40,000 business owners come through that program. Because of that, a lot of business owners want us to run ads. They also want tech solutions and they want remote sales reps. So we started Elite Closers. That's what you're on the call for. We also started something called Elite 360, which is our tech solution. And we started something called Elite Ads. But that's all because the business owners asked for it. So part of the reason we've done so well as well is we have a massive pool of business owners who need people like you in conjunction with this program. So it feeds right into it, right? So they're like, hey, what closers you got coming up? Who do you have? So the hardest thing for me to do on this call is promise you how fast you'll get picked up. But there's nothing you said in the call that would tell me you can't get placed because you came up with a good question. I could tell you've done your homework. You've been in sales before. You seem motivated. You asked me things that you wouldn't have known unless you watched the videos beforehand. So you have a lot of green flags. I haven't really seen any red flags. The only red flag would be if, you don't want to make the move. But besides that, I've not seen any red flags. You also are willing to go full time. So that's easier to get a placement than part time, right? Because business owners want full time over part time usually. So there's a lot of positives you said on this call. I wish I could give you a more concrete answer on like how fast, but I think 60 days is a very legitimate promise based on what I said. And I'm giving you a conservative number. I don't think it to take you longer than 60 days as long as the coaches are on the same page with you and you're doing a full-time workload, which is what you said you would do. Now, if you're like, hey, I'm going to do a part-time workload, then I would say it might take you 90 to 120 days. But if you're doing a full-time workload, 60 days makes perfect sense to me.
Okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I appreciate your answer. I guess my fear is, going through the program and, you guys guarantee the interviews, and then they just don't like me. That's my fear.
I think you're pretty likable. I think you're so nice that, like, you're very nice. So I don't think anyone will fight in a fight. But no, I don't see any reason you have an issue getting placed. The only thing you have to worry about is if you perform. Getting placed is the easy part. Staying placed is you performing, right? So
Sure.
Getting the job is easy. Like, there's plenty of business owners who will give you an opportunity. It's just what do you do with that opportunity. So if you're confident in yourself in learning sales and you've done sales and you believe you can do it, that could be the least of your worries. The placement's easy. Staying placed.
Okay. I mean, from what I'm understanding is you guys train to close at a 30% rate, correct?
Correct. And that's our deal with the business owners. So if you're closing at 30% plus, the business owners have to keep you on. I mean, they don't like have to, but if you're closing at over 30%, we can get you another job tomorrow because that's the industry standard. that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah. And I guess my other question is, you've said people are making like 40,000 a month. I mean, how does their work schedule look like? Are they
Yeah, so
full-time
those are-
closers?
Yes, ma'am. So that's the best of the best. So the best of the best, typically what will happen is they'll have like, let's say 10 calls a day. Out of those 10 calls, let's say like 7 or 8 go. And then those are usually big packages. So they might be anywhere between $10,000 to $40,000 packages. And so they get 10% of those packages, right? So those are usually the best of the best closers, right? Like they just close a high volume of calls. They get a ton of calls. They're closing big price packages. So you can get there, but I don't want to lie to you and say those are not the best of the best. Those are the top 1%, right? So there's fewer people who make 40,000 than people who make 5 or 10,000, right? Obviously.
Yeah.
So my brother's done it. Like my brother worked for me. He was making 30 to 40 grand a month. One of my buddies, he actually owns a sales training company. He was making about 40,000 a month. But I also tell you the truth, they're working a lot. I mean, they're working a lot of hours. They're taking a lot of calls. They're very good. So they close a very high percentage. Sometimes they're closing 40 to 50%, instead of 30%. And they're good at follow-ups, right? So the people who don't pay, they get them to come through later. A lot of variables, but that's not out of the realm of question. It just is if the company can get you enough volume and then how good you are. And then obviously, like the companies who can get you that amount of volume are going to expect better closers because they're filling up your calendar. So there's more competition. So like for where you're at, you obviously can pick, but you might be better suited for a company where, you know, they're making, or I'm taking out my closers, they're making like, you know, $100,000 to $150,000 a month. So you're their only closer, but you're getting all the opportunities, right? There's some companies who might have 4 or 5 closers and they're doing $1 million a month, but then it's a lot more competitive, right? Because you're going against 4 people. So like based on where you're at, you can obviously choose, but that's part of like our selection process as well, is like who you want to interview with. Because we can get you interviews with really high level companies, but then their expectations are higher. So there's a balance, like how much you want to make, how much you want to work. Those are all up to you though.
Okay. And we get the contacts of the company before interviewing just to see if like it works.
Yeah, so the company, we give you details on the company before. Typically the companies are paying 10%. So what you
So hang in there, but like I was like, I mean, you guys see what I'm up against. Like she's an owl. Like she wants to know every single freaking detail. But I'm just hanging in the pocket. I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna ride this like all the way down the end.
need to know how much the company makes. So let me give you an example. If the company makes $250,000 a month, that means there's $25,000 in commission. If the company makes $500,000 a month, that means there's $500,000 in commission. Does that make sense? So it's really more where the company's at revenue wise, so you know how much you can actually get paid. Because if the company's only making $50K a month, and they're like, well, you can make $15,000 with us, they're lying, right? So we let you know before you interview with them what they're looking for, where their revenue's at, what's the offer, that type of stuff. And then, you know, from there, you're usually good to go. But most of the companies are paying 10%. So there's no real agreement to quote unquote look over. I mean, you could do that before if you like, but they all pay about the same typically. So.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
So if I want to move forward, how would I go about the payment?
Yeah. So what I typically do, as long as you feel comfortable to move forward, is I process your first payment right here with you on the phone. I send you over a receipt. Once you get that receipt, I send you an agreement. The agreement outlines all the details we've discussed. You check it, you sign it. Once you sign it, we start your onboarding, and then you're off to the races. And then again, like I said, what I would do for you if you're able to move forward today is like I would honor that price point, so that instead of you can do the, I believe we were saying it was what about, yeah, it'd be so then because I just think that's fair. I just try to make fair deals. Like I'm not trying to pillage and plunder and take as much money from people as I possibly can, make their life worth. Like I'm just trying to make fair deals. So it's like as long as you could do that, then I think that would be fair for us, and then everybody wins. And it's not a one-sided deal.
Okay, no, that makes sense. So the first payment has to be processed over the phone.
That's typically our normal process. Is that okay?
Oh yeah, no, that's fine. But I just wanted to know, like, if I just, wanted to.
Okay. Also, if people ask you that stuff, just be like, yeah. Be confident. Don't be like, oh, well, like, I mean, like, would you rather have an invoice? No, it's like, yes. I take it over the phone. Yes.
To think about it, and would I have to give you a call back, or it has to be done right now on the phone, like at this very moment?
No, that's a great question, Dana. So definitely, I don't want to pressure you into doing it. That's definitely not my intention. What I usually just say is like in your scenario. So typically, the price of the program. So like if someone comes on the call and they want to think about it, tell Kingdom Come, that's fine because it's like that's the price. All I would say for you is like if you're still feeling a little unsure, and you do still need to think about it a little bit, what I would do with you is I take a refundable deposit, which would be 10% of the down payment. So for you, that's about, so it's not really a lot. And then, if you.
That, I don't know why I did that, not the total. I was just tired. It should have been, but I was just tired.
Go home and you think about it and, you come back tomorrow and, you don't want to be a remote closer and you don't want to do this full time. You don't want to make more money, all that type of stuff. If you genuinely feel that way, you just let me know and then I send that back to you and then we'll call the day from there. Does that work for you?
Yeah.
Oh, close. Yeah, we'll call it there for today. I'll have questions, but there's another call I had with a guy who I went through the script. And when I got to the end of the script, That's what I wanted to show you guys. I got to the end of the script and he wasn't certain. So like I got down here and I was like, yeah, so like, now that you know everything, how does it sound? And he's like, yeah, I mean, it sounds pretty good, but like I'm gonna have to check it against my other stuff, etc. And I was like, oh, okay, like, so it doesn't really sound like you're super certain. Like, kind of sounds like this is something like you kind of will need to think about, or like you're not really sure you want to do it. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, well, cool. So like, I guess from here, like, what do you want to have happen on the call? Because if you're not certain, it definitely doesn't make sense for you to do it. Because if they're not certain, there's no point in dropping the price because they're not going to buy. So I wanted you guys to hear how I handled that, because I basically just like wrapped the call up and we're like, yeah, I'll talk to you like let's talk next week and like tell me if you even want to do it. And the guy made like 350,000 a year or something. But yeah, that's how you handle price. And I'm telling you, if you do it like that, then you'll close like you'll just close like bucks on calls. And yeah. So do you guys like have any other questions about sales calls or like sales in general? That's really the training for today. And I have more calls that I close. I had other calls that I close like more down, etc. But I don't know. I felt like those two would give you guys like a good range. Do you guys like have any questions?
Hey Tanner, I have a question. I'm just curious, the call that you're not able to pull up. I had a call yesterday that kind of went that route where he wasn't certain and we hadn't dropped the price, but he was like kind of uncomfortable with the program itself and he was wanting something less. So I'm just kind of curious if like what approach you would take, like if they're wanting to go with less, essentially, like they're not wanting the full program, they're wanting like a piece of the program, how you would go about addressing that. Because we hadn't even talked price, which is kind of strange that it was a weird objection to receive for me. So I feel like I didn't do the call the best that I could. Obviously, I didn't dial in kind of what he was truly wanting from the call. I don't know if I'm describing this very well.
I mean, you are. I guess I just would have been. I guess it depends, but I guess like I would have said like, well, what part of the program do you feel like you don't need, and why do you feel like you don't need that? And then if he didn't need it, I would have explained to him. It's like, yeah, like I could definitely see how you would think that, but I mean, you will need that because of this and this and this. So I could definitely take it out, but it's going to be worthless if you don't have the other pieces. I guess it varies. But yeah, I don't get that objection very often, right?
I know,
like more,
it threw me off.
I mean, what did he not want?
So he was talking about how he just really like he's in corporate sales, he's transitioning online. And so he just really wants help with figuring out his offer and his niche avatar. Like that's really because he has a lot of experience in sales, but he doesn't like know the sneaky nuances from corporate to online. And also his content, he's like, yeah, I got that dialed in because his wife is an influencer, but obviously we know influencer Instagram versus business is different. So there's a lot of ways where I feel like there was some ego where he's like, no, I know this stuff, even though I'm like, I don't know if he does. So how do I politely say like, I don't know that.
So your program is, what do you sell?
So it's a sales coaching program.
Yeah.
So
the issue is like he thinks he knows sales and you're trying to sell him sales, right? Yeah. So there's no value. So what you do if you're trying to sell someone something and they think they know it but they don't. So the first thing is like you have to pick that up in discovery. So that's why you ask questions. He's like, yeah, like I don't think I need sales. I just really need to figure out like my offer. And so then when you're in your pillars, your 3 pillars, you would bring that up. You're like, cool. So pillar number 1 is crafting your perfect offer, right? Because remember, the pillars are based off what they need, what they ask for. So I think number 1 is like, you probably didn't ask the right questions, or 2 is you didn't pick up on that. So when you pitched the sales, he's like, I don't really need sales. Right. So there's only one way to fight that. The first way is like what I said is you like talk about what he wants. That's why if I get on a call with the business owner and they're like, well, I want ads. I'm like, sick, dude. All we do is ads. or they're like, I want to do this. I'm like, sick. All we do is that. I just focus on what they say. If what they're saying is dumb, then I basically will just say that. So I had it like a few months ago, I had a guy I got on a call with, and he's like, yeah, like I just want to sell in the DMs. I was like, cool. Like, how's that going for you? He's like, well, da da da. I was like, yeah, well, it's not working because it doesn't work. That's why. And he's like, well, this guy does it. I was like, cool. Do you have 500,000 subs on YouTube? And he's like, well, no. So I ask questions that kind of gets them to be in a nice way. It's like, hey, you're what you're saying is stupid. So if he had said that, I would have been like, cool. So what makes you think like you don't need help with your sales? And he probably would have said, well, like I'm in sales and I'm in corporate, right? Which is harder to overcome, especially for sales reps, because they have massive egos. I mean, sales reps have the biggest egos out of anyone. It's the funniest crap. Like they have the hugest egos ever. So the easier way to handle that call probably would have been to focus on the things he did want and make him reassured that like, yeah, and we're definitely going to focus on your offer in this, and the sales is there, but you're really good at sales. So like, it's obviously there, but like, no big deal. This is the big thing for you. Right. That probably would have been a better way to handle it versus if you kept trying to shove sales down his throat, because it's like, you got to give them what they need so you can give them what they want so you can give them what they need type deal.
Okay, so I have another call with him later today. So I'm kind of like, I don't know like how to get back on that call and be like, okay, this is what we're doing. I did talk to his office hours this morning, and so he gave me some direction, but I would be curious to know kind of from your perspective as well, like how should I just, because he was kind of like a bull essentially because the ego part, and maybe because I'm a woman as well and he's a man in corporate, there could have been a weird thing there, even though he perceives that he needs my help. So I'm just not sure, like if you were me, how would you approach hopping on this call this afternoon?
Yeah, so I get back on the call and I'm like, hey, super excited to get back on the call. Honestly, as I was thinking earlier today, I had a couple thoughts. Like, are you cool if I share those with you? And it was a couple thoughts that like I honestly wish I had first on the call. And then you just basically start over at the 3 pillars and you make like new pillars.
Okay.
That's what I would do.
Okay, thank you.
Because that's what it sounds like to me, is like I mean, it makes sense. Male who gets on a call with you who's been in corporate sales thinks he knows everything about sales. Yeah, it sounds accurate.
Yeah.
Right. So you can't teach him anything. And he might even in the back of his head be like, oh, she's a girl, she doesn't know. I don't know, but he might be saying that. So instead of trying to fight against him, and to be frank, like he has a good point. Like if he is a beginner, he needs help with his offer. He needs help with those other things. And it's not worth the fight to be like, oh, well, your social media sucks and you need help with sales. Cause like, that's his identity. His identity's wrapped up in that he's good at sales probably. So if you tell him he's bad at sales, like you're basically telling him that he sucks as a human. That's how he's going to take it. Because that's like his life.
And that's
right?
the tricky part between men and women too, like in sales, because we do operate so differently. And so that, I mean, typically I work with women, but this was a call that I was able to get. And I'm like, ooh, I don't really know how to approach this because I haven't done this with a man before.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, like if he genuinely sucked at sales, like, I don't know if you know, like if a business owner comes to me and it's like, yeah, I've been in business for 3 years and I'm doing this much. I'm like, okay, so like, why? And they're like, well, it's this. I'm like, well, maybe it's your sales. They're like, well, I don't think so. It's like, so why are you doing so little? Like, that's how I'll attack a dude, but I don't think you need to attack the sales because like, I don't think it matters. I think if all he wants is like the offer and stuff like that, you don't need to make the program less. You're like, well, look, like I could totally understand, like you've done sales, etc., but online's a little different. But at the end of the day, like you have more sales experience than the average person. So, what I thought about was this and this, and I wish I had thought about that sooner or whatever. That's probably the better angle to take, unless like all you do in your program is literally sales. Or like if all you do is sales and you don't help with those other things, then yeah, you have to overcome it. But if you help with those other things, it's like, I don't know why we're harping on sales, like focus on those other things he wants.
Okay. I'll definitely do that. Thank you.
Yeah, good question. Yeah. Anyone else? Anybody? No? Yes. You're raising your hand.
Yeah, I did. Sorry. My kids just got home, so they were driving me crazy. But so if you get a no, or if your team gets a no, how
Yeah.
long do you follow up with them? So I can only go by my experience. Like when I took the call with one of your people, I was like very adamant about that. I was about no, and I needed to talk to somebody because I actually really did need to talk to somebody who was out of town for 2 weeks. So I said,
Sure.
I really can't make a decision for 2 weeks. They just let me go off the phone. They let me go at that point after I finished the whole thing. I got the price, and it wasn't that it was a no. I really truly needed to speak to somebody, my business partner. And then nobody followed up with me. I followed up with you guys to get that. So what is the follow up to a situation like that? Like what should we do? Like I had to reach out to like you guys in the group chat, like, well, to you who really wasn't you, but and start like,
Who did you talk to?
oh, I don't want to get anybody in trouble.
No, you won't. What offer was it?
Uh,
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, I mean, the first thing is he probably should have followed up better for sure. And, like if I listened to the call, there could have been a chance he thought you were full of it. So he's just like, forget it. It also could have been like he had you down later and he didn't. But yeah, I mean, if it's a time thing, like if someone's like, yo, I can't do anything for 2 weeks, there's not a whole lot of reason to follow up before then, right? Now, if someone was like, the price, and they just won't do it, you could follow up like 2 days later and do what's called a reoffer. Reoffer's like, hey, just following up with you. You know, I spoke to Tanner and he said we could let 2 people in for a little less down. I know price was an issue. But let me know if you want the details. Right? Like that's called a reoffer. Okay. But if it's truly a time thing, then it's like the only thing you can do is like you just send a couple like, hey, just checking on you. Here's a training we did, or like, hey, just thinking about you. Hope like to talk with your business partner. Like you just do stuff that lets them know like they're on your radar and you're still thinking about them. But yeah, I mean, like sales guys, I mean, they should be following up. So like what I do is we don't have like a set cadence, but you know, I'll mark on my sheet who I need to follow up with like a solid color, and I leave notes, and then I just check that periodically. And then if I see I'm like, oh, I need to follow up with that person, that's what I do.
okay.
I don't have to set like, all right, every Thursday I do follow-ups or something. It's like I just do them as needed, case by case basis. But based on what you said, it's like, yeah, I mean, if I was him, I would have just followed up with you at that time. So
Yeah, I probably really did appear as a hard no because I was very honest. I was comparing your company with another company. I was very transparent about that I was
Sure.
making a decision between two. So I really probably did come off like this is a hard no, and I've got no cash on hand right now, and I'm not signing up. Like I was very honest about that I was just gathering my information.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, but to answer your question, yeah, that's what I would do is just if someone tells me like, I have a guy who like he put down a deposit, he's like, yeah, I won't have money for 3 weeks. I'm going on a cruise. Like, there's no point in me like barraging him with like, hey buddy, how are you? I mean, I could, but I just leave him alone. As it gets closer, I'll start like, hey, what's up, dude? Just checking on you. It's nothing crazy.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
For sure. Anyone else, guys? Like any questions? Cool. So yeah, hopefully you guys are just absolutely just melting your brains full of just wonderful knowledge for your sales calls. And yeah, I mean, if you guys can just do those simple things, then you'll close more deals, you'll help more people, you won't be stressed out. It's just overall a great thing for your life and your mind. So that's all we got today. I'll take this recording. It should be in the group for Elite CEOs Mastermind. I'll also download it, and then I will put it in the Elite Closer group. And then yeah, just like keep rocking and rolling. All you guys who show up every week, appreciate you. Good things will happen for you. Some of you guys literally come to every single call. It's great. That's what it takes to win. You will start winning if you're not winning. Trust me. It's you can't lose it unless you give up. That's literally just facts. So just keep at it. Appreciate you guys. It is like 10 o'clock here, and I've got a bunch more calls. I'm going to bed like 3 a.m. because I'm in Europe. So I've been like on the craziest schedule. but it's fun. So glad I'm here with you guys. Hope you guys have a great night. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.